To sell or not to sell, that might become the biggest question of 2024. In this video, I would like to talk about the pros and cons of selling in 2024. And I'd also like to look at different types of real estate, different asset classes, and see some of the variations that we are already seeing and that I think will become more enhanced throughout 2024.
Moving to Southern Missouri is the best thing I've ever done for my family.
We are gonna start out with residential, and I've spoke about this in a previous video that was about buying in 2024, but I do wanna touch on it again because I think it's important for sellers to consider why we are still going to be in a quote-unquote seller's market in 2024. You may be wondering how could it still be a seller's market when we just had such a slow year in real estate? 2023, in terms of volume of sales, was on par with 2008. Now, we didn't see a crash. In fact, kind of the opposite. We saw prices increase, and really what stabilized the market and increased prices was the fact that inventory was so low. So you still had a lot of people competing over a small amount of properties. So, it's those basic equation of economic supply and demand. So that is going to continue through 2024. Some people are hypothesizing that we're actually going to have even tighter inventory. And this notion comes from the idea that, it's been leaked that we're going to have interest rate cuts, maybe 3 to 6, maybe more. And that is going to, of course, increase volume of sales. More people will jump back in the market that have been waiting on the sidelines. So it is possible that we are going to see an even tighter crunch on inventory because there's going to be more competition, and we aren't necessarily going to see the market flooded because people are still sitting on those, what now seems like a dream, right? Those interest rates of 2 to 3%. Although this is where we are going to see big differences in different types of real estate. I'd like to jump from residential on over to commercial. And my predictions for commercial are almost the exact polar opposite of what I foresee for residential. I think it's important that we first dive into the dynamics and what are bringing about those differences between residential and commercial markets. I'd like to go way back in time to the dreaded 2008. I think that's actually really where the conversation of current commercial markets needs to begin. So during that crash, when we saw prices just absolutely slayed, right, overnight in some markets, we didn't necessarily see that in commercial real estate, especially not multifamily. Because we didn't have that massive revaluation in specifically multifamily commercial, we really didn't ever get to see those prices kind of recalibrate or equalize. And so we have just had a seller's market for decades when it comes to multifamily commercial. And really that's where, I'm assuming a lot of other people have talked about it. I have just seen it from being exposed to the commercial markets, representing investors, that a lot of commercial multifamily assets are extremely overvalued. I'd like to talk about some of the dynamics that I look at when I'm crunching numbers to assess valuation, and that will kind of help you to see what I've been seeing in the market. One of the first things I like to look at in commercial real estate is the net operating income. And that's what's so great about commercial appraisals versus residential appraisals. Although both of them seem at times like a mythical beast that really can't be understood, commercial appraisals have a bit more consistency because they really, more than looking at the value of the actual real estate, it's going to be looking at more the profitability and the NOI that's produced within that real estate. And in my mind, that makes the appraisal a bit more consistent. Now, saying that, one thing I have been noticing in the commercial real estate market, specifically multifamily, is that the prices that are being asked are almost 3 times what the commercial appraisal would be. at least for the very rudimentary ways that I'm crunching the numbers. So that obviously is a big problem. I think that we probably have seen more of these issues playing out too with like just the feasibility of getting commercial loans and having everything balanced when valuation is really off balance with the net operating income of a property. So that is just kind of a huge red flag. I mean, to tell you the truth, this is what I think a healthy commercial market would look like, is that you would see properties sold roughly around what they would appraise for, and really a little bit less. That they would be, their asking price might be a little bit more, but through negotiations, you might get a little bit less, because how many commercial assets do you know that you can buy and you do not have to invest money in either, modernizing them or, reimagining them, converting them? Usually when you buy them, there is an additional amount of money that needs to go into that property to bring it to its highest and best use. So that's why I really think that we have kind of reached a place of unhealthy numbers in the commercial market, especially multifamily, is because, really what the property is worth in terms of commercially, right? That commercial appraisal, which is going to be about the profitability of the property, really no longer meets the true value of the property. The last point I want to make in the commercial sphere is that very few of these properties are acquired through loan products that have fixed interest rates. So throughout the next few years, it is very reasonable to guess that we are going to see commercial owners that are going to have interest rates really hike to the point where profitability may be seriously hurt. And that also in the commercial sphere, we often see balloon payments. And, if already margins are slim and then there's giant payments that are due, you can see that it creates a scenario where we might not, I don't want to say a flooding of the commercial market, but I believe we will see a lot more inventory hit the commercial market with sellers that are more flexible in negotiations because of all these factors coming together that are affecting the commercial markets. And these are general statements, but kind of could be made across the board in the country. Now, of course, there's microcosms and differences in all the regions and sub-regions and micro-regions. But when I look at commercial real estate holistically across our country, I am seeing these dynamics across the board. Another tangent of the commercial market that has really suffered since COVID is, of course, office space, multi-use commercial buildings, storefronts, and office space really have taken a beating. And so that is just another dynamic that is kind of painting a picture of a revaluation of commercial assets. And I definitely have noticed, just even in our local southern Missouri markets, that offices are sitting and a lot of those commercial properties are expiring, and then you'll see the owner try to lease them out and no one is renting them. And now that's not across the board, of course. We have a lot of really healthy economies, and Springfield, for example, business is thriving there. And so you're not seeing that as much there, but I have noticed it. So to bring it full circle, we really haven't seen commercial real estate get a swift kick in the rear end and be revalued since far beyond 2008, really, when residential was really taken back down to a very humble level in 2008 and then had built back up. We never really saw that revaluation with commercial, especially multifamily. And I believe that is why we have come to a place where multifamily commercial assets are going to have a revaluation, and we may see that in 2024. We're going to start to see it in 2024. Now, considering that the residential market is still a seller's market and we're going to see continually rising prices, and the commercial market is becoming more of a buyer's market, and I do believe as commercial properties enter the market for sale, we are going to see a reduction of prices, not the just crazy out of control valuation that we've been seeing in the commercial market. So those are very big differences, and I wanted to point those out. I also wanted to talk about the raw land and development markets, because those two have really shifted. And so I would say raw land is somewhere in between. So here's what I've been noticing in raw land. Raw land has really slowed down. Those markets have really slowed down. And at the same time, I would say that sellers are still really reluctant to lower their prices. So it's hard to say. I mean, I guess you could still say that it's a seller's market, and yet sales have really slowed down. One thing that I think that's happening in the raw land markets is that the cost of construction is so very high. I actually have gone through and calculated the numbers for other clients and showed them that if they actually bought, like, let's just say a $600,000 property, right? Let's say that they could get, 60 acres and a beautiful, 2,500 square foot home or larger, and maybe set up as a farm and had a barn and all these amenities, right? That you could not, the cost of building that would be so much greater than 600,000, especially when you consider that raw land prices haven't bottomed out. Even though the sales have slowed down, sellers are holding out for the higher prices. So yeah, I think that just the reality of the cost of building not just your home, but also putting in your roads and your fencing and your barns and outbuildings and everything is so high right now that it has really slowed the sales for raw land. Saying that, I think that we're going to have such tight inventory in 2024 that I think those markets are going to stabilize again. They're going to start to move more quickly, because people are going to start to make the decision, well, I don't care if I have to pay a little bit more or there's not like instant equity in my property. I'm going to buy raw land and build because there's nothing else that I like on the market. So we're going to start to see that more too in 2024. Okay, guys, I don't want to nerd out too much on marketing, because really that's not as exciting to you maybe as it is to me, but we are just doubling down on all of our marketing strategies. And I do want to talk about some of them, because I really think that it's important for us to understand what it's going to take to really not only just quickly sell a property, but kind of ensure the best price. I like to value properties pretty on point, and then I like to hold to that number. Now, that we can't always do that, but that is usually my strategy. If that doesn't differ too much from the seller's strategy, it is what I like to do, is really value properties correctly and then hold that line to that number. So, but really to get there, because that's a very confident move, you really have to be backed by good marketing. So obviously in 2024, every seller should be expecting professional photography. That should be a just basic standard. So if your realtor comes, to list the biggest asset that you have, and they're pulling out their phone, and that's their marketing strategy, is to take some pictures on their phone and put it up on the MLS, that is really not sufficient. So as a bare bones, every property reasonably, like I just sold a $20,000 lot, pretty much just to help a sweet old lady out. There's not a huge amount of money to be made selling a $20,000 lot, but I cared, and that little bit of money meant a lot to this woman. But we did our own. I took the pictures on the ground, and my husband did the drone photography, and I ended up finding a buyer. So I did represent both sides, which did help to bring in a little bit more money. But I did not do professional photography for that property. That is the only time that I will not. Is if like a property is, I'm gonna say $40,000 and under, like I'm not gonna spend, $600 in photography and drone photos, because that would be literally, I would not be making money. I may even be spending money to sell that property. But otherwise, professional photos, drone photography, drone videography, and also a walkthrough video. Those are all pretty essential for this modern age, and all of that different marketing should be being pushed out through social media, through several different avenues. Really, in this day and age, like, social media needs to be leveraged multiple ways. You know, it's sometimes time consuming, you know, like, I don't know how many times I've gone through and found like 50 new Facebook groups that I could push a property out to, and it sometimes feels really tedious and like, what am I doing? And then I end up selling the property through one of those groups. So the name of the game in real estate is how many eyes can see the property. So every week, we want to be rolling out a new strategy to bring thousands of eyes to that property. And that's the way that you get good prices and you sell a property quickly. However, that is not enough either. And so really, if you're watching this YouTube video, then you know that there's this thing called YouTube, and it's, you know, it's gained some popularity and it seems to be continuing to gain traction. Well, we have done what most traditional realtors have done, where, you know, and bless my husband's heart, he's made his own, you know, drone videos, and we've put them out on, when we were called the Wilty team, and we put them out on Wilty team, and we got, you know, I think like the most views is like 150 views, something like that, which is pretty much traditional for realtors. And if you look at even some of the top producers, you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see these very simplistic, walkthrough videos or drone photography, often with some, kind of cutesy music, and that's it. And here's what I believe is the new thing, that if your realtor is not doing this, then your property is not being fully marketed, which is fully employing SEO. So SEO is search engine optimization. So not only do you need to make a variety of YouTube videos, but those videos themselves need to be embedded with those search words that are going to come up in people's feeds. And so we are just diving into this thing called SEO. I'm going to be honest, like, maybe 2 years ago, I wouldn't have even known what you were talking about. If you said SEO, I'd be like, huh? What'd you say? But now we are fully diving into it. So not only are our featured YouTube videos, featuring properties, going to be marketed in an evergreen light, meaning that they're going to continue to just be searchable and gaining traction in YouTube, but they are going to be fully embedded with SEO terms so that people who are looking for that property can find that property, because YouTube is the second biggest search engine that people use. Of course, Google is still number one, but really YouTube is a strong number two. And so we want to leverage the fact that there's already all those eyes there in YouTube. Might as well just leverage that. So to stick with SEO, the next thing that we're doing is fully embedding all of that SEO searchability into our website. And we are revamping our entire website. We are throwing some serious time and money into it, because websites can be really powerful. And what our website can do also is we can make an individualized website for each one of our listings and then embed those SEO terms into that personalized website. So as you can see, what I'm talking about is leveraging SEO. People are on the internet and they're searching, and we want to gain access to those search terms every chance that we can. And that also we want to come at it from different angles, right? It's not just video, right? It has to be in your website, and all those different marketing tools that we can use and then embed those with those SEO terms. I know that was getting a little nerdy, and I just want to cut myself off there. I've never been so hyped up about anything technological ever, but I'm finally getting this whole internet thing. And as my husband says, he thinks it's going to take off. This whole internet thing, I think it's going somewhere. So, we may be slow to, the modern age, but we're going to take everything that we're learning and run full speed into 2024 because we're already seeing amazing results. Like I said in my previous video, my last listing got a full price offer, 2 of them, within 6 days. We accepted the second one on day 6. And that was marketed to the fullest. And so we are seeing the benefits of that. And that is what we are going to continue to do, really henceforth. As always, I want to thank you guys for sticking to the end of this video. It has been an absolute pleasure. If you are feeling incredibly generous today, I want to encourage you to like this video. And if you want more of this kind of information, please subscribe. Everything real estate, everything Southern Missouri, from market analytics to adventure videos. Like, we're gonna have so much fun. Come on back and I'll see you in the next video.